In 1914, British aviation was a bit of a shaky experiment. By 1918, it had turned into the deadliest force in the sky. We're looking at the full lineup of the Royal Flying Corps and the RNAS, from the famous legends you've heard of to the experimental flops you've probably never laid eyes on. Welcome to the complete lowdown on British WWI aircraft. We'll run through the iconic fighters, the heavy bombers, the seaplanes, and the experimental prototypes that nearly rewrote history. Hang on till the end. The experimental section features some truly wild designs. Let's kick things off with the fighters, which were called Scouts back then. Early in the war, the British were struggling, and this is the Airco DH-2. See how the engine's sitting at the back? That's because synchronization gear wasn't a thing yet, so this was the only way to fire forward without shredding your own propeller. Then came the legend, the Sopwith Camel. It brought down 1,294 enemy aircraft, making it the most successful Allied fighter. But that success came with a heavy price. The Camel was notoriously unstable, and the torque from its rotary engine claimed the lives of many trainee pilots before they ever made it to the front. If you were after staying alive, this was the pick, the SE5A. Quick, steady, and rock solid as a gun platform. Aces like Mick Mannock swore by it. Before the Camel came the Sopwith Pup. Pilots absolutely loved it. Light, nimble, and an absolute pleasure to handle. And here's the Sopwith triplane. Its performance rattled the Germans so thoroughly that they borrowed the concept for the Fokker Doctor 1, the same type the Red Baron made. By late 1918, the Sopwith Snipe had entered the scene. It was the peak of rotary engine fighter design. Stronger, sharper, and far more lethal. Lastly, in the fighter lineup is the Sopwith Salamander. It wasn't built for dogfights. It carried armor for ground attack runs and was meant to withstand the rounds coming up from the trenches. Bombers and reconnaissance. Now we move on to the machines built for long-range strikes and battlefield eyes in the sky. Now for the real heavyweights, the bombers. And just check out the sheer scale of the Handley Page Type 0400. Boasting a 100-foot wingspan, this behemoth was designed to hit German industrial sites under the cover of night, the dawn of strategic bombing. If speed was your game, there was the Airco DH.4, fast enough that it could often leave enemy fighters in the dust. Its follow-up, the DH-9, turned out to be a flop thanks to its notoriously unreliable engines. Thankfully, the DH-9A sorted out those issues and went on to become a mainstay of the post-war RAF. But the backbone of the war effort was really the reconnaissance crews. Enter the RE-8. And then there's the notorious BE-2. These aircraft were built for stability, letting observers snap photos and guide artillery with precision. Stability made for perfect photography but lousy dogfighting. These crews were often easy targets for German fighters, yet their work was absolutely crucial to the war effort. Naval and experimental. Next up, the aircraft that took to the seas and the daring prototypes that pushed the limits of design. Let's turn to the sea. The Royal Naval Air Service was innovating at a rapid pace. The short Type 184 became the first aircraft in history to sink a ship. Then there were the enormous flying boats such as the Felixstowe F-2A. They patrolled the North Sea on the lookout for U-boats. Now on to the rare and unusual, the experimental designs. Check out the Bristol M1 monoplane, sleek, fast, and aerodynamic. Yet the British High Command distrusted monoplanes, deeming them unsafe and limiting their use. Engineers experimented relentlessly. Here's a Sopwith Camel triplane prototype. They took the Camel fuselage and added a third wing. It didn't pan out. Finally, the most significant plane of them all, the Avro 504. It began as a combat aircraft but ended up as the main trainer. If you were a British pilot in WWI, this was probably where you learned to fly. From the delicate BE-2 to the formidable Snipe, British aviation advanced more in those 4 years than at almost any other period in history. If you were flying in 1918, which would you choose? The nimble Sopwith Camel or the steady SE5A? Share your pick in the comments below. If you enjoyed this full rundown of British WWI aircraft, give that like button a tap. It really supports the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss our next video on the German Aces. Thanks for watching.